So how many games does it take to get good at wargaming, whatever your chosen system might be? Battletech, Warhammer 40,000, Chain of Command, X-Wing Miniatures, God Tier, Pacific Rim Extinction. This is the eternal question. And in the beginning of your wargaming career or a new system, victory is life. Victory is important. Winning is important because that validates that you're on the right path. It's like a binary formula. Although I guess a draw could be counted as a win somewhere in there also. But this idea that, are your tactics coming together? Do you understand the rules? And I'm not talking about win at all cost. I'm not talking about going crazy. But you're investing this time and energy into Tactica and building and painting, all excellent pursuits of the hobby. Winning confirms, hey, you're on the right track. And if you're losing a ton of games, that kind of says, hey, we need to readjust there. And this has been the whole reason for my channel over the years, is to take what I've learned on the table, good or bad, success or failure, and give you some ideas to take your own, make it better, and eternally cut down this learning curve. So how many games does it take? Now, you could go in and totally brute force it, and sometimes that might be your only option. Brute force is just sit down and play a bunch of games. Just play a bunch of games, try to understand the system, work it out. But this isn't always that effective, especially if we're talking about a competitive rule set where we might be playing in a tournament. The number of games you play is going to reflect in your skill. So I wanted to point out a couple of, independent of the system, a couple of checkpoints, a couple of tactica that I've used over the years to help improve my performance, especially if I'm approaching a new wargaming system. And the challenge here is, and sometimes approaching a new wargaming system, meaning you're an avid 40K player and you decide you're going to get into historicals. Sometimes that's a little bit more challenging than someone who has no wargaming experience, because it's natural to equate and match the tactica you know, and not everything always carries over. So in building this checklist, I was very careful to look and say, let's not have any bias towards one system. Like, let's truly come up with some universal rule set, universal laws of wargaming to see what we can do. Okay, jumping in, understanding the rules, not memorizing the rules, understanding the rules, understanding the different phases of the game system, because they're going to determine what you can do and what you can't do. You don't want to be in the wrong position with the wrong unit doing the wrong thing consistently. Understanding a basic overview of how the game is going to work. And of course, absolutely, you can always look something up or figure it out or ask a question. I mean, I've been playing Battletech forever, and every now and then there still is something where, can we do that? I know we can. Absolutely we can. Let's find that in Total Warfare and figure that out. So it's okay to look it up, but understanding what you can and can't do. So build that kind of checklist. Phases of the turn, 1, 2, 3. This phase, bullet point, this phase, A, B, C, and kind of work your way through that. Okay, second, the random. Now, there's going to be some sort of random in a wargaming system that represents the fog of war. This idea that we have a lot of models neatly arranged on the table, but they represent dynamic units. On a side note, one of the things that I love to do to help build that narrative is, depending on the game system. So for Battletech, I have these little blast markers of craters and smoke and fire. I've got some damaged mech pieces, generic arms and legs and bits. As I play the game, so let's say you shoot your long-range missiles at me. You've got a long-range missile carrier, and you shoot at one of my mechs. Whether you hit or miss, just for cosmetics, just for effect, does not have any impact in the game, does not block line of sight, does not do any of that stuff. I will place down 2 or 3 of these smoke markers. I mean, I just got hit real time with hundreds and hundreds of missiles. Some stuff is blown up and on fire. And I like doing this as we go. If you blow my arm off, I just put the arm piece down there. Now in Battletech, it's in that hex. You can pick it up, but it is somewhat cosmetic, even if you pick it up, because I want to see where it fell. And this tells like an interesting story as the battle unfolds. And at the end of the game, to pause and see where those effects are. Now, I say this because in the fog of war of these effects, every war game uses the random for it. Some have gone Euro and have action cards and interrupts and PowerPoints. Others are just a good old school D6. lots of D6s if it's 40K, and most newer war games are somewhere in between with custom dice, or at least they've moved to D8s and D10s to give more variety. Looking within the rule system, and what can you do to, I don't want to say manipulate, because that implies like something shady here. What can you do to change the dice or control the random in your part? Is there a unit like a chain of command? World War II, the Americans have a special rule where when they shoot, if they roll a 1, you get a one-time reroll, and that represents the accuracy of their weapons and their resupply and training and that type of stuff. That's a massive, massive ability. So what can you do to change the dice or cut down on modifiers? Is there something you can do where if I'm shooting at you and you're behind cover and I roll a D6, I get a -1 to hit? Well, is there something I can do to remove that -1? What can I do to control the random and the modifiers? And sometimes you can't always control it. Likewise, when it's your turn, what can I throw out there to mess with the random, to make you roll more dice and to get rerolls? And part of that's positioning. Part of that's unit abilities. Part of that is using synergy between different command tactics, going back to the rules. But really looking and saying, the random engine of this game, what can I do? Next, playing games. And then we're going to get to win and lose. Playing games. Now, I want to play the game out to the end. I want to enjoy the narrative. I want to get in that full gaming experience, start to end, and take my time. That's most war games. I want to have a great time creating this narrative with you, whatever the system is. But sometimes in the quest to get good, or if it's competitive wargaming, it's just about playing the games. You got to get these games out. So at the height of my 40K tournament career, I was getting together with my friends, the War Master, Jawa Balls, BC James, and we would spend a weekend playing 40K till turn 3. So you have different turns in the game system. We would play till turn 3, step back and say, okay, the logical conclusion, yeah, things can happen at the last second, crazy stuff happens, but at this moment, the logical conclusion, halfway through the game, who would win? Who would win? Now, this did two things. One, it taught you to capitalize immediately on momentum, to sit down there, turn 1, deployment, what's the mission, and come out with massive, massive momentum. You know, the virtual brick to the face, just massive momentum. It trains you to do that, to look, to seize, and do what you have to do. Cultivated that in a good way, not being like an aggressive jerk on the tabletop. But on that sheer number, by doing that, by pausing turn 3 and asking that question, you got to see really quick. And 40K is a system that would take a while back then at the point level for various tournaments when we were at the height of doing this. But I use this also for the height of X-Wing miniatures. You know, we would play a set number of rounds and look, especially with X-Wing miniatures. If I could get 5, no joke, if I could get 5 X-Wing miniature games in a day, you know, playing relaxed and having fun narrative, I could get that up to 15 playing halfway through. Reset, play again, reset, play again. And it's not that wasn't fun. That's like lifting weights, right? Just that's the fuel. So that's one way to get games in. And now finally, the last piece. There is a social contract, I believe. You and I are stepping out of space and time. We're taking time away from work, family, school, responsibilities, wherever you are in life. We're all juggling a lot. And I'm honored to sit down with you and play this war game. So I'm always going to play it out to the end. Whether I made a tactical mistake, whether I went for tabletop glory, whether the dice or the cards worked against me. Sometimes you reach a point in the game where you're like, look, I'm going to play it out to the end, but I don't think I'm going to win. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't give up. First of all, you never give up. Second, because that would be disrespectful. You're winning. You're having your fun. Let's play this out to the end. Also, you never know. You never know. But for those times where you're like, look, it's not looking good. I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose. If you feel you can't salvage the game, what I do at that point, and this is part of a training, this is not a regular game. I mean, I'll play it out to the end. I'll do something dramatic, last stand. I'll castle up in the middle if it's a narrative game. But we're talking about trying to cut down that learning curve. You know, if it takes 20 games to get good, listening to my vlogs, can you do it in 15? Then can you take it and turn it around to 10? Then can you make your own YouTube channel and make it to 5? Get good in 5 games with your own stuff that you're posting. At that point, I'm going to check out your channel and cut down my learning curve. So in exploring that, If we're playing competitively, I'll look and say, okay, we're going to play it out. I'm probably going to lose, but can I take a unit that I have left on the table and tactically pull out something interesting with it? Make it happen. Like if it's my Cornate Berserkers, can I get them into the ultimate beautiful combined assault and sweep that and pull that off? Can I do something tactically on the table to reinforce that, to train that, to teach myself something under impossible odds? Never tell me the odds, right? Glory, looking at that. So these are some of the things, independent of system, that you can look at, that you can do in your games. And again, this is not narrative playing. This is, I want to get good really, really fast because it's a new system, because I've got a tournament play, because I keep losing to that one guy that I'm not going to name any names at the club, and I got to show up and beat him, whatever you got to do. These are some of the tactica points that you can do to win and cut down that learning curve.